What's up guys, Suris here. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I figured that I'm probably going to be slamming my head into the wall enough after watching this video that it would simply be easier to do this instead of animating me doing that. Because, well, if I already have enough of a headache, I'm going to make sure that I suffer the least amount possible, even if it's for your entertainment. With that said, let's go ahead and roll the intro. Alright guys, so the video we've got today is apparently from Girl Defined. I've been avoiding this channel for a while, and the first thing that I found was a video saying that we shouldn't kiss until marriage. Okay.
Hey guys, it's Bethany and Kristen from Girl Defined Ministries, and today we are going to be talking about why I saved my first kiss for marriage. So actually, as y'all are watching this video right now, I will be on my honeymoon. I'm not married yet, but when you see this, I will literally be married. I will be Bethany Beal. Yes!
So you will be literally married, as opposed to figuratively married. Okay.
I'm so excited about that. So when you watch this, I will be doing all sorts of kissing, and I'm not ashamed of that.
Why would you be ashamed of kissing? That's like one of the most benign forms of showing affection you can give to your partner.
I'm so excited. I cannot wait to be doing that kissing. But right now, yes, I have not kissed Dave. We are saving our first kiss for when we are husband and wife, and that may be so weird to some of y'all.
Why? Like really, why? Is there some reason, like in the Bible, why you shouldn't kiss people?
You might be like, I have never heard of that, but it's actually been a really cool thing, and I'm actually really excited about it. And I'm excited now to kiss Dave, but when you watch this, I'll be excited that I had kissed him. Anyway, so this idea came about, like, it wasn't something that I just always knew. I remember when I was a teenager, I think both of us.
Yeah, I remember
We read these books by some Christian authors, and they were sharing about how they, did not grow up in a Christian home, and they had all sorts of boyfriends and girlfriends and did all sorts of stuff that they did not, like about. They kind of regretted it and wish they hadn't, and when they kind of became Christians and got more serious, they met each other, and they were like, what if we did something so radical?
Of course it's weird to me. It's very strange to me. It might not be just because I'm polyamorous and therefore the idea of waiting for marriage for anything is, well, kinda dumb because sexual compatibility is a thing, but at the same time, while looking at this video, I can only make the assumption that the reason that you're not kissing is because of some strange standard of Puritan ideals. And if you're going to take that route, I'm not going to stop you as long as you don't tell me to do it.
What if we waited until we were husband and wife to actually kiss?
Hold on. What is radical about not kissing your partner? That's the exact opposite of radical. Radical is meeting your partner and immediately jumping into bed with them, hither any type of repercussion. That is a radical move. Not doing something is the exact opposite of a radical move, in quite literally every way, shape, and form.
For the first time, and it was a totally radical idea, but they decided to do it. So they ended up getting married, and they saved their first kiss for their wedding day when they were husband and wife. And for some reason, that just really
I remember reading that
me.
story, yeah.
You remember it too. You were a little bit older, but we both read it near the same time. And I remember in that moment thinking, wow, I wonder if I could do something like that, because I know God says that we should save sex for marriage and that intimacy ultimately is reserved for marriage. But what about kissing?
Again, not doing something is not radical. It is the exact opposite of radical. Inaction is not radical.
What about some of those smaller things like that? Like, what if we could save that or not do that until we get married? So for me personally, this was just a personal conviction, because obviously the Bible doesn't say you shall not kiss until you get married.
Well, you're right. It's not really mentioned in the Bible whether kissing should be in there, but if you're going to take an archaic Puritan ideal and see if maybe you can polish it up to become even more archaic and Puritan, again, I'm not going to stop you, but from my perspective, you only live once, so if you want to go ahead and do that to yourself, again, the only person you're going to be doing that to is yourself, and of course your future husband.
But I just thought, how inspiring.
No, it's not inspiring. Again, inaction is not inspiring. Not only are you trying to do this thing, which is not kiss until marriage, on top of not kissing until marriage, you are now saying that you want to inspire other people to not kiss until marriage.
I did not expect this road to last as long as it has.
30 years?
So when I decided, like, hey, that would be a cool idea, and then, each year, like, yeah, this is a cool idea, right? But I'm...
It's not a cool idea. Again, a cool idea would be doing something. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to keep saying it, but it's not a cool idea if you're not doing something. It's literally just sitting on the couch as a couch potato. This is a cool idea. I'm just gonna sit here all day. No, that's not an idea. That's literally the opposite. That is attempting to not have an idea. That is attempting to not do something.
Excited. I'm really excited about it. And so having decided that and really having walked it out now, it's been really awesome just to see like, wow, I'm so excited to experience this bit of intimacy, kissing with my husband on our wedding day.
And the only reason you're excited about that is because the term husband is entirely arbitrary. But aside from the legal precedent, aside from the legal abilities that being married grants you, I see no functional difference between being married and simply being in a relationship. If you're married after your first week of being together, as an example, does that suddenly make that relationship more legitimate than a couple who've been together non-married for 10 years? No, it does not. No, again, this is not some type of radical idea, and the situation does not become suddenly more cool because it's your husband. That's the way you're contriving it in your mind. And if that's what you need to sleep at night, I guess.
Like, it's gonna be so amazing. So no matter what you take from this video, we hope that you'll just be inspired to think about just those smaller aspects, I guess, of romance in kind of a newer way.
No, do not. Please think about your romance. Please think about these different aspects in your life. But please do not take the self-destructive route that these people are taking. Whenever you take a route of abstinence, it almost universally leads to issues. If you have any degree of knowledge in human psychology, then you understand that that's not something that you honestly want to do. It's not a road that you want to go down. Spending time when you could be doing literally anything else and just abstaining from it because of some arbitrary rule, it doesn't do anything to improve your life. In fact, you're actually actively making your life worse for almost no reason.
Instead of thinking like, oh, like, yeah, of course, everyone just kisses. Like, maybe take a step back and think about it a little bit differently.
Again, no. If I want people to think about marriage and different types of relationships differently, absolutely. Again, I'm poly. It's part of being part of a fringe type of relationship style. And I can tell you the logistics involved are nightmarish, and trying to explain to somebody who has only ever been monogamous about that particular situation, it is incredibly confusing for them to understand, oh, you guys had to actually sync up schedules among 6 people and try to get dates scheduled for everybody. It was an absolute nightmare. But it's a thing that you can do. That is thinking about romance differently. Thinking about romance differently is not thinking about things you can remove from romance. That's not thinking about romance differently. That's trying to pick and choose pieces of romance that you can remove from the equation. That might be different, but it's not radically different in the way that you're trying to prescribe.
I think it's really cool that you and Dave are doing that, and you do get a lot of questions about that. And I know I got a lot of questions about it because Zach and I did the same thing, and now we've been married for 7 years.
Oh wow, you both made the same dumb decision. Who would have guessed?
So we have literally been enjoying kissing and having so much fun, intimacy-wise.
Sex. She's talking about sex. She can't say the word sex for reasons, but it's sex.
For over 7 years, it has been awesome. But before I was married, I remember really thinking through and processing this. And Zach and I even had some conversations like, are we gonna kiss? Are we not gonna kiss? And as we talked through it, it really came down to this heart of wanting to preserve all forms of intimacy, like physical intimacy, for marriage. And as we looked at God's word and saw God's heart for purity and calling us to walk in a way that's pure and to really honor the other person in our interactions and not...
How is it honoring the other person in your interactions to not want to experience everything that that person can offer? I know that might seem like a bit of a hedonistic approach, but consider this. If you're in a relationship, what is one of the best experiences that you can have with your partner? A lot of people will say that one of the best experiences they've had with their partner has been exploring their sexuality together, especially if you're part of a more marginalized sexuality, like if you're part of the LGBTQ community, and you might not have had an opportunity to explore your sexuality, you just know what you're attracted to. That is probably one of the most magical things that you can do with your partner, and you're trying to advocate that people rethink the way they're doing this by removing one of the most fulfilling aspects of people's relationships. No. I wholeheartedly refuse.
Act in ways that would be tempting or provocative towards the other. We really just stepped back and said, you know what? If God has marriage for us one day, we're gonna get to enjoy all of this, just like you and Dave are actually enjoying now. Because you're married, right? As we watch this.
So, again, here's an issue that I have here. You're saying that if God has marriage in the cards for you, then you're more than willing to explore all of these things marriage-wise as soon as you guys are married. And that might be an interesting way to go about things, but there's one thing that I'd like you to consider, and I'd like anybody to consider, honestly. One of the reasons that a lot of relationships end up breaking up is through sexual compatibility. You might have one person in the relationship, say it's the male, who is into a vanilla style of sex, and the other person in the relationship is into a more dominating or BDSM-oriented style of sex. One of those two people is not going to be fulfilled, and eventually, those two people are going to find that they might just ultimately be sexually incompatible. This will lead, and has led several times in the past, to relationships breaking up. And if you guys are in the relationship stage, just the relationship stage, that's perfectly fine. If you find that you two are incompatible and you have to separate your ways, that's cool. It doesn't hurt you, except for obviously the emotional damage of losing your partner. That hurts, but typically your finances don't get destroyed. Marriage, though, ties your finances together. So if you find that you're in a situation where your finances are tied to whether or not you and your partner can sexually get each other off, you're gonna find that you're in a really awkward spot. I'd honestly say that it's better to find out whether or not you and your partner are compatible on every level before you get married. That means, personally, I'm an advocate for living in the same house before you are married, kissing before you are married, having sex before you are married, exploring every avenue of the relationship before you are married, handle finances together before you are married. Once you've done all of these and you know that you can handle these things together, then I would say that yes, marriage might be an option for you. But not doing any of these things before marriage sounds childish to me and downright harmful.
In future times.
And in future times. And so we were like, wow, if we're going to get married and God has marriage for us, how cool would it be to preserve these things, honor each other now, really focus on purity, and then on that wedding day and beyond, like, just have at it and have so much fun. And, you know, looking back now, 7 years into it, people will ask, like, was it worth it? Do you regret it? And I'm like, you know, something I didn't know that would happen as we've been married now for 7 years is looking back on those days before we were married, having a guy and building a relationship with him and seeing how much he desired to honor me physically. You know, a lot of girls will email us and say, my boyfriend's pressuring me. All he wants is sex. All he wants to do is make out. And I'm struggling to wonder, like, does he actually value me as a woman, as a person? Does he want more than just sex? And having a guy in a relationship before marriage with Zach, who was so honoring, who wanted to pursue purity, who wanted to preserve intimacy for marriage,
and the self-control.
Because it's hard, like having self-control, patience, and really wanting to get to know me and my personality and who I am.
Not just your body.
Not just my body.
So again, I'm gonna have to hold issue with this. When you're in a relationship, you are generally going to be exploring all avenues of that individual. You're going to be exploring their body. You're going to be exploring their mind. You're going to learn their wants, their feelings, their aspirations, and you're going to determine whether or not you two are compatible based on all of those. You are taking a financial bet. You are hedging that you two are going to remain together for the benefits of marriage, because there is a bit of a risk analysis there. It might be the fact that I am a pragmatist, that I do take a very pragmatic view on marriage, weighing the benefits of the marriage versus the risks, and making sure that proper time is taken accordingly before the marriage to see if things are going to work out. But at the same time, I think that that's an approach that most people can take that isn't going to be harmful. It's not going to pit your finances, and it's not going to hurt you as much in the long run. I do not advocate for people jumping into marriages without testing all those avenues first. And if you think that you're in a relationship where the other individual is not valuing you for anything more than your body, then you're gonna find that out when you guys are having sex. If you opt not to have sex until after marriage, you might find that once you guys start having sex, you're going to start asking yourself those questions anyway, because you have the option already beforehand of exploring those different avenues of intimacy. If you wait until after marriage to explore all of those, then you're just going to be asking yourself the same exact questions after marriage when there's more risk involved? Why would you not want to figure out whether or not there's going to be problems before there's actually a risk involved? I will never understand that mentality, and it sounds like an incredibly harmful mentality, not to mention the fact that psychologically there's going to be repercussions for constantly trying to abstain. Looking at you, Catholic Church.
To keep Christ at the center, it was amazing. It developed such an incredible respect for him. And now that we've been married, that foundation of respect, that foundation of mutual love for one another has only deepened and strengthened. So
oh my god, of course, it's Christian advice. The only thing that's worse about this advice is the fact that it's exclusive. I find that if you have advice that is exclusive to a subset of religious people, then the advice is not useful. So there's only one of two options that Girl Defined really has here. Either A, this is exclusive advice for people who are already Christians, or those people who are not Christians need to both follow their marital advice and also become Christian so that the advice can be applied to them. And I personally find those worldviews a bit disgusting.
I encourage all girls, you know what? Once you get married, you can have at it, but beforehand, be cautious, be careful, think through. What do I not want to regret once I'm married? Maybe I'm not going to marry this guy. Do I want to have all these regrets? Think through it.
So let me ask, just out of curiosity, this is something that I will never understand. So let's say that you are having protected sex. So you're on birth control, you are on a condom, you have the ability to grab the pill afterwards if you need. What regrets would you have having sex with a person? What lasting regrets, except for the ones that you personally want to hold on to? I have personally dated people who I would not date again. I do not regret the time that I spent with them. It was a learning experience. There's this strange idea in the Puritan mindset that as soon as you have sex, you become used goods, and the more times you have sex, you become like a piece of chewing gum, and nobody wants to eat a piece of chewing gum that's been chewed and expired. But that's not how sex works. You don't become chewed and expired. In fact, actually, you just become more experienced. You gain the ability to satisfy more people as you learn what people do and don't like. Allow me to set up a situation for you. An absolute worst case scenario. In fact, there might be a worse scenario than this. But imagine somebody waiting until marriage to sleep with you because they want to sleep with you. They learn all of these things about you because they want to sleep with you, and the only thing they want is to sleep with you. And once you become married to them, you are now locked in that relationship with somebody who only wants you for your body. The fact that you guys got married does not suddenly change those motives. It doesn't change what the person got into the relationship for. They're always there, and they always would have been there. All that is different in this situation is how far somebody was willing to go to screw you.
Yeah. And choose to honor one another. And that may look different for each of us as we look to God's word and pursue purity, but ultimately that's the heart in all of this, is that we individually want to honor God in our purity and want to honor the other person.
Again, what is with purity? Why does it matter? Honestly, why does it matter? If you're going to be cleansed when you go to heaven, then why does purity here matter if you are harming nobody? You're harming nobody. If the only people you're having sex with are consensual, and the only people that you are hanging around are people who agree with you and you find agreeable, if you live a life of treading on nobody's toes, but the only thing you've done is suddenly this magical catch-all horrible thing of having sex with more than 3 people, then all that gets erased when you go to heaven anyway if you're a Christian. So why does it matter? It honestly shouldn't. If there's one thing that Christians and atheists can agree on, it's that this life, this particular version of this life, only happens once. Most atheists don't believe in reincarnation, and I don't know any Christians who hold to it either. So this particular life is one that we're only going to get once. I think that nothing happens after it. You think that you're going to go to heaven, but we both know that this particular life is only happening once. Why would you limit the scope of your experiences?
I would totally agree with what you're saying, because with Dave and I think that's exactly it. My respect for him, my trust in just his relationship with God and just the way that he's respected me has been amazing. So I really think that's cool. One of the things though that when I tell people that, they're like, there's no way I'm ever gonna get a guy if I'm not kissing him or doing more. My standards are way too high. I am literally never gonna get married. well, have hope, because both of us did not kiss until we got married, and we found guys that were willing to wait, that were actually excited to do that.
It did not scare them away. They were for it as well.
Well, I guess it is interesting to find that when somebody is also as stupid as you, they might want to be in the relationship with you as well. If somebody doesn't understand psychology or is willing to make themselves suffer simply because of you, then I guess that's something that they can do. But telling other people that they need to live by those ideals are dumb.
Not dragging Dave along like, we have to do this. Yeah. He was 100% on the same page, on board with doing that. So I just want to encourage you, you don't have to lower your standards in order to catch a guy. It may take 30 years, but that's okay.
God's plan is different.
Better to wait. And then also people ask me like, was it so hard? I still have, at this point, a few days left, but it really, when your focus is on honoring Christ, when your focus is on being set apart, when your focus is on building just a relationship and getting to know the other person, and when you set up good boundaries and don't put yourself in the way of temptation, to be honest, it's not as hard as it seems.
No, it might not be as hard as it seems if that's the only thing you've ever known.
It's very freeing, I've heard you say.
Yes, it's very freeing.
This goes into the same thing that me and Godless Iowan talked about in our last video. I don't understand how it is freeing to limit yourself. I don't understand how boundaries are freeing. These two things are contradictory. They do not belong together in the way you're trying to put them together. It's like saying slavery makes you free, or like saying silence is loud, or like saying something that spicy is cool. These are completely opposite ends of a spectrum, and yet somehow you manage to shove them together because you want it to fit your biblical worldview. I don't get it. And I don't think I want to, because I think I might lose on a few IQ points if I actually do. In fact, actually, I think we need to go ahead and make sure that I forget some parts of this video with a good old trusty hammer.
Because you're not always like, oh, did we go too far? Did we do this? Like, We're free not to kiss. We do not have to kiss until we get married. Like, we can choose not to do that, even though that's the norm. And to me, that's amazing. Like, we have choices in this of what we're gonna do.
You always had those choices. You didn't need those biblical standards to give yourself the ability to have those choices. Not to mention, thinking that you went too far, I can understand worrying if you went too far if you were drunk, or say you were already in a relationship with somebody and you went too far with somebody else, cheating on them. Yes, at that point, you've gone too far when you've pushed a boundary that was set up, but when you arbitrarily put the boundary on yourself, there's not really such a thing as going too far. As long as you and the other person are consenting and nobody's being harmed and there's no agreements prior that are being broken, going too far is a concept that you arbitrarily constructed for yourself. That's on you.
And to be honest, I wouldn't change it. I'm so glad that we've chosen to do these things. So just an encouragement to you, don't be discouraged. Don't think your standards are too high. Be willing to be radical, because there are other Christian young men out there who are willing to do the same.
Again, it's not radical. You're not being radical. You're being the exact opposite of radical. You're not doing something. That means you literally can't be radical. Being radical is the idea of doing something outside of the norm. Being radical is not doing something and then suddenly falling outside the norm. No, that is not how that works.
We know this is kind of a really big topic, and that a lot of you have a lot of questions on it because we get the questions from you. And so as a result, we've actually written multiple posts. I've written posts sharing my whole journey of not kissing until marriage, saving sex for marriage. You've written lots of posts on this, and you can find all of these articles over at girldefined.com.
Okay, so if the rest of the video is just going to be advertising, then I'm not going to get into the rest of it, because honestly, my head hurts enough, not just from hitting myself in the head with a hammer. That's a thing that already hurt a little bit. The thing that actually hurts a whole lot more is the fact that I had to watch this video and listen to this inane nonsense. These people have no understanding of how human psychology works. These people have no understanding of how human relationships can work. They want everything to work within their narrative that's constructed by a book. These two are missing the critical thinking skills that I am now going to relieve myself of right now.